Welcome, everyone. We'll be getting started in 2 minutes. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started with 1 minute. Okay, let's get started. Again, welcome everyone to the Celero-Optima webinar series. We try to do these on a regular basis throughout the year to provide value to our customers and clients. I want to just take a few minutes here and introduce myself and our guest speaker. I am Ralph DiBartello and am responsible for representing Epicflow within Celero-Optima. Celero-Optima is a coaching and consulting firm specializing in helping manufacturers with a complex supply chain consistently fulfill delivery commitments to their customers profitably. Celero-Optima teaches and implements a concept that blends the most powerful elements of lean and theory of constraints to achieve maximum synchronized flow in complex supply chains. Our mission is to help our clients maintain a perfect balance between operational and financial objectives. We also found that many of our clients have multi-project shared resources in their environments. To provide value in this area, we have partnered with Epicflow and in October became the exclusive North American representative for the Epicflow software application. Our goal is to provide value for our customers to get simplicity and maximum productivity by using their existing tools in tandem with Epicflow. Our web-based tool integrates with Jira, MS Projects, CA Clarity, Primavera, and other project management systems to enable faster and cost-effective delivery of multiple projects simultaneously. Without further ado, let me introduce Jan Willem Tromp. Jan Willem has vast experience in continuous improvement and multi-project management. Since 2006, he has been developing a new concept used to manage multi-project environments and has brought it to the world via the Epicflow software application. His research brought totally new insights to the world of multiple project management. He has been a guest speaker at a number of international conferences. We will not be taking questions due to the time frame today because we want to make sure that we stay on time and value your time. But I will have contact information at the end of the presentation and welcome your questions and feedback via phone, email, or text. It is my pleasure to introduce Jan Willem. Jan Willem?
Thank you very much, Ralph. Good morning, everybody. I'm calling from out the Netherlands, so we are already in the afternoon. And I would like to share you my experience and knowledge about Epicflow and multi-project management. And I will do this starting from talking about what is the problem, what is multi-project management, what's the problem, and what we think is the direction of the solution and our experience with our customers. So first I would like to start with our customers. 1 second. So this is a list of some of our customers, but mainly I want to show you that our clients work in aircraft engineering, shipbuilding, superyachts, machine industry, healthcare, industrial projects, safety industry, and also software development, MRO, and service industries. Now this looks very broad, but honestly, Epicflow is very effective in various environments, but the main thing is that where the uncertainty is high, Epicflow is very effective. And you see these kind of uncertainty, especially in engineering-driven companies. Now, let me first try to explain what is the problem area. So what we normally see is that we have companies which have a portfolio management of projects. which can be projects coming from clients or can be internal projects like in R&D. Now, what we see is that project managers will be responsible for one of the projects. They make their project plan, they do a great job, and then they have to find the resources. But the funny thing is that they have to share the resources among other projects. Now, this is what we call a multi-project environment, where some of your resources, most time your key resources, have to work in several projects at the same time. And this makes life quite complex, especially if you compare it to single project where you have a dedicated team. Now, this is what we call multi-project management, or what's also called multi-teaming. Now, what I would like to ask you to think about, what do you think, what impacts on-time delivery in a situation of multi-project management where you have to share resources within other projects? Now, just think about it, just a few seconds, just pick three, what you know from experience. Then I will continue. Now, what we did with this question is that you see myself on the right-hand side of the picture, and on the left side you see Albert, which is my co-founder from the earliest hour of Epicflow 10 years ago. What we are doing currently is we're doing also our PhD research. And this gave us the opportunity to interview a lot of people, CEOs, project managers, etc., and business people. And we asked them the same question: what impacts on-time delivery? And here's the list that came out of these interviews. One of them is unrealistic planning. So somehow people have problems to make a realistic planning. Second is changing requirements. Can come from internal people, but also clients. The third one is lacking resources, especially the resources are promised to your projects, but you don't get them on the moment you agreed on. Number four, uncertainty. Where Murphy can hit, it will hit you. We see also overload, and because of that, then we have a lack of focus. Number six, underestimation. And seven, if you have too much work, people start to multitask. By multitask, I mean they start a task, do not finish it, jump over to another task, and then later come back to the first task. Now, this multitasking is really devastating your productivity. Now, the question is how companies deal at this moment with this problem. And what we see with a lot of our customers is that in the beginning, they start to make the Gantt chart. This is based on one project, but we know we have to share our resources, and then they start making a resource management sheet in Excel or something else, and then they start to figure out upfront when does this guy work for project A and when for project B or C. Now, we think, and by the way, our customers agree, that this is not working. So project management are very good in managing one project with a dedicated team, but in a multi-project environment, it does not work anymore. Maybe this is also your experience, but in our view, it's extremely complex, it's inflexible, it's labor intensive, and it has a high failure rate. So the question is, what is the direction of the solution if this is the problem? So what we did is that I give you now an example from a customer. What we did is we looked at one skill team, and this skill team had to work for all projects. And this skill team had 5 people. And I just asked them, what do you think your productivity is? And the skill team said, we think our productivity is 80%. So 80% of 5 people is a capacity of 4. And then we said, please give me all your project plans and estimations, and we will calculate the workload for this skill team. And it happened to be 11, almost triple the amount of the capacity. Now, my question to you is, what do you think in this situation will be the output? Will the output be equal to 4? Will it be more than 4 or less? Now, I can tell you, in this situation, the output was just 2. And it's logical. If you are overloaded, people have a lot of extra meetings, everybody is shouting, you get management by decibel, the project managers are pulling at you, so all kind of disturbance. So this is how it feels. And I hope this is not the situation in your company, but maybe you never know. Now the question is how to solve this. Now what we did with this customer was the following. The R&D manager, because this was an R&D department, said, okay, I understand, I have to bring down the load. And this is actually what he did. He just frozen some of his projects. And then I went to the skill team and I asked, guys, you said to me that you had a productivity of 80%, but it ends up that it was just half, 40%. How come? And then they start talking about the disturbance, about the emails, about the phone calls. So I said, guys, let's do an experiment. Let's focus on our work. Meaning, if you start a task, you finish it. And then you go to the next task. And maybe it is wise for the bottlenecks that we say, just put out your email and put out your phone for 6 hours during the day. And for 2 hours, you can switch it on again. And this is what we did. And within 3 weeks, the guys improved their output and they doubled it more than. Now, this was a fascinating experience. And I was wondering, is this behavior or this cause-effect relation, is this generic? Now, let me first show you what happened with this specific customer. And this is a quote from Hans de Boer. He was the R&D director. And he told us we increased our output by 200% and reduced lead time by 50% in 2 years. Meaning that he tripled his amount of new developments, which is amazing, with the same amount of people, just by better organizing it. Now, coming back to the question, is this generic? We said, if this is generic, we should deliver the information which shows the customer what is happening. Now, just have a look. I'm showing you here a historical load graph which is coming from Epicflow. And this graph is looking on what is happening in a resource group. In this case, the resource group backend. What you see here is that we started with a capacity of 40, and this did not change over time. But at the beginning, the load was 50, and the output was just 20. So it was clear we have to bring down our load and see what happens. So after some time, we brought down the load, the output started climbing. Up, up, up. And then we said, okay, let's keep the load at the same level. And also the output could stay on the same level. And then suddenly the output dropped. This was very logical because some of the people became idle. So what we did, we brought up again the load. Up, 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 and the output could follow. And what you see now is that after some time we brought up the load again, again, again. At some moment, the output dropped again. So this cause-effect relation between output and load is really showing here again. So we brought back the load, and then it ended up that somehow here we had a balanced situation. What is the load and the optimal output? And to be honest, your capacity is not 40, because this is just an assumed capacity, maybe what you would like to have. But the output is your actual capacity. And in this example, it's not 40, but it's 32. So this is really valid information that Epicflow is delivering to you, which can help you in making better decisions. But this is not enough. You also have to look what will happen in the future. So we have now here our future load graph, just as an example. And we are looking at two groups, automation testers and manual testers. And don't forget, both groups have to work for more than one project. We are talking about a multi-project situation. Now, let's start with here. Level 0 means the group is not overloaded and it is not underloaded. But what we see here is that the manual testers, the blue one, come into an overload situation at the level of 4. They are lacking 4 people for a short period of time. Meaning we have a bottleneck situation in the manual testing department. And then it goes down. just for a period of 2 weeks. On the other hand, we have our automation testers department, and this skill group, the load goes down, 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 and they have, let's say, an overload of 4, meaning they have 4 people extra and they don't have work for it. So if you know this situation upfront, you know your bottlenecks upfront, you also know your underload, then maybe you can get rid of this bottleneck upfront without influencing the progress of projects. Now, in this example, it's very easily. Normally, automation testers can also do manual testing. So those 4 guys that have no work are now able to help the manual testers. And be aware, if you have a bottleneck situation, some of your projects will be delayed. So if you know upfront, you can deal with it and make the right decisions to protect your projects against these bottleneck situations. So now I've shown you 2 things about Epicflow, which is the historical load graph and the future load graph. Now the question comes, what is the information Epicflow needs to make this calculation? And that's basically very simple. The only thing we need is that we need a network of activities. Activity 1, it has a relation with activity 2, meaning that you can only start activity 2 if 1 is finished. We call this a network of activities, and we have a second chain in here, and at the end, or somewhere in the middle, we have a milestone. Now, the only thing we need is this network with dependencies, and for every task, we need to know which resource group or skill group is needed, and we also want to know what is the rough work estimate. Not the duration, but the rough work estimate. And at the end, we want to know the deadlines of the milestones. Now, think about it. If you use a Gantt chart, you always see the start and the end date of a task. This is what we do not need. We only need to know what are the tasks, what is the dependencies, and where are the milestones. That's what we need to know. And the funny thing is, if you have this, normally this is quite stable. Only when you have a scope change, then this network can change. But without a scope change, this is not changing anymore. And this is powerful because this means less replanning. So we don't need the start and end date. Now, let's have a look how it works, because we still have one problem not solved. And this is right priorities. Now, I'm not talking about the priorities of projects. I'm talking about the priorities of tasks. Now, just let me give you an example. Here we have a situation with 3 projects, project 1, 2, and 3. We also have several resources. Resource A is this one, resource B is the green one, resource C, the blue one, and resource D is the red one. And for every resources, we just have 1 person. Now, project 1 has 4 tasks, A, B, C, D. The numbers correspond to the effort, the estimate, and it has to be finished after 1600 hours. Project 2 has only 3 tasks, in total 400 hours, and it has to be finished after 600 hours. And project 3 also has 3 tasks, but a little bit bigger, and it has to be finished after 1700 hours. Now, my question to you is very simple. Just assume you are resource A. You have 3 tasks on your desk with the same amount of work estimation. My question to you is, what would be the sequence? What do you think is the optimal sequence in this situation? So just think about it. Would you start with project 1? Would you start with project 2? Or would you start with project 3? And here below you have some answers. For instance, first 1, then 3, then 2. B, first 3, then 2, 1, or etc. Just use your intuition. Do not calculate. Just make this decision on the spot. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, let's have a look. I hope you make your choice. I know from experience, from all the conferences I did the same presentation, that 85% of the people chooses C, either D. And the rest chooses A or B. Now, shall we have a look at the consequence of your choices? Now, Let's do some simulation. This lady, she said, hey, let's start with the project which has the closest due date, which in this case is project 2, then 1, and then 3. Let's look at the effect. What we see is that project 3 cannot deliver on time. So especially resource D is very disappointed because he was not able to finish it on time. Let's just switch 1 and 3 in this situation. You see that the effect is better, but still now project 1 is not on time, still not good enough. Now what will happen if resource A would start with project 1? Still not good enough. Now let's switch 2 and 3. This has not much effect. But what will happen if we start with project 3? And now we see that all projects are delivered on time. What I would like to show you is that the sequence of resource A can have a huge impact on the performance of all your projects. And I wonder if resource A is able to make the right choice. Secondly, my question would be, is somebody giving feedback to resource A that he made the wrong decision? I don't think this is happening. But I know from experience, especially if you talk to engineers, they all think they are able to make the right decisions. And I think they are unable. And why? Let me show. Because if you look at this simple example, that looks easy, but be aware of the following. If you only have 3 tasks on your desk, then there are only 6 different possibilities for sequencing. If you have 4 tasks on your desk, you already have 24 different possibilities. It's faculty for faculty. Be aware, if you have 10 tasks on your desk, and I know people who have that, where you can start with, you already have 3.6 million different sequencing possibilities. Now look, nobody can do that. You need a supercomputer for that. But then you get a problem because a supercomputer is much too expensive. So what we did with Epicflow, we developed an algorithm which gives you the priority which is good enough and which is really fast, because we know you are in a dynamic environment where the changes happen during the day. So this is our supercomputer. And what our supercomputer is doing is we are trying to replace this detailed management sheet, which I used in the beginning, and we're trying to replace this. And the question is, can Epicflow replace this management sheet? I think we can. And how? Because our algorithm, our software, is in your dynamically changing circumstances, is informing you what is happening on resource level, meaning the historical load graphs and also the future load graphs. So we predict when bottlenecks can occur. We use a minimum of planning overhead because we only need to know the network. And if we have the network, that's more than enough. We don't need to know the start and end date of a task because that does not work in a multi-project environment. And if we have this information, we can give you the right task priorities. By that, Epicflow provides insights so you can predict bottlenecks as early as possible before they hit you. Now, before we go and have a look at the software, there are 3 main interests. I think on the level of your employees, the question is very simple. What is the most important task to do today? But if you look at the project managers and the resource managers, they want to know what is my project status. And they also want to know, do we have the resources now and in the future? But on C-level, it's already different. C-level wants to know, show me the overview, what is happening in my company, and C-level is always interested, is my productivity increasing, yes or no? Now, how are we doing that? What we do is the following. What you see here is Epicflow in the middle. And Epicflow is using the data coming from project management systems which are already used by our customers. We just extracted data that is needed for our calculation, like I said, coming from the network, the estimations, and the resource groups. We just extract the data, get the data into Epicflow, we do our calculations over here, and we deliver back the information for the users. So we have our own database, we have a pipeline with all the activities, projects, excuse me. We have a task list, of course, with the priorities, and we have our resource management model. And by that, Epicflow prevents bottlenecks and ensures, because of that, that projects are finished on time. Now, and we do that on different devices. We show, of course, this in a desktop environment, and we also show it on the mobile app and the Apple Watch. I forgot to tell you one thing. If somebody is changing something in Epicflow, it will be synchronized automatically to the source system. If somebody is changing something in the source system, it will be automatically synchronized with Epicflow, as if you don't see that you have two different systems. So Epicflow is adding value to your project management systems, because project management systems are very good in managing one project with a dedicated team. But I don't think they are good in managing multi-project situations. Therefore, you need Epicflow. Now, let's have a look. This is the needed information. Now I'm going to show you a short demo, and we just take some short time. That is enough for today. Here we have Epicflow. I will make it a little bit bigger. 1 second. Okay, what I show you here is called the pipeline. Now, here on top we have our projects in execution. In the middle we have our projects, which are, let's say, new projects not executed yet. And below we have our future load graph. Now, just have a look. We see that every resource group is underloaded. So we would like to have some more projects. But first, let's go to the top. What is the project status at this moment? Here we have the first project. What we do is the following. The project in the worst situation is always on top. This is for sea level. Just look what is happening on top, and then you see the situation of the projects. This project has a number called 102. This has a meaning. This means that if you start working on this project and work according to plan, then still you will be 2 days too late. Below you see a different number, and this number also has a meaning. For instance, this 77, this means that, look, for the rest of the project, till the end of the milestone, the last milestone, you still have a buffer of 23%, a time buffer. So this 23% is the difference between 77 and 100. So in this case, 99, it only has a time buffer of 100%. So those projects are more in danger than the project below. And this number is used, let's say, to get a very fast view on what is happening in your company. Secondly, you see some red bars. Red bars is telling you something very interesting. It's telling you somewhere in your project, something is not feasible. So between milestones, there's too much work, unfeasible. Just click on it, and then you see, I am lacking between this milestone and this milestone. Don't forget, they are in the future. And I'm lacking 73 hours. So I have an unfeasible planning. We are warning you for this. And then just click on it, and then you see all the tasks that are involved in this chain of activities. I will not go further into this. We can do that later. Okay? Now something interesting becomes. Just look, we have, let's say, we have an underload situation. We would like to have more work, and I have 2 new projects. I would like to do what-if analysis. Now, what I can do is with the last one, and you just have to look at what's happening on this level. Look at the graphs. I will click on the last one, the second one, on the plus sign, and look what happens on the graphs. It immediately shows you the effect, what will happen if you add this project to your pipeline, to your in execution. And what we see now is that engineering has a little bit of overload for, let's say, 1 month. Support, also a little bit of overload. And you can even see the amount, which is basically around 1. So the question to you is, can I solve this Maybe not now, but can I solve it? Let's just assume yes, we can solve this. Don't worry, we will manage. So I will just add this project. Now let's go to the last one. If I click on the plus sign, then I see all my groups, research groups, are extreme overloaded. Maybe it's not wise to add this project because if I do, I have overloaded my whole system, my whole company, and all projects will suffer from this. So let's not do it. So this is the pipeline. Now let's go to our resource management page. This is very simple. On top, one second, on top you see all the groups and you see the numbers corresponding to the capacity, 6.2, 6.2 people, FTE, 4.3, 3.6. On the left, you see every resource that is available in your company. And you also see some numbers like 5%, 10%, 85%. This means this guy, Andio, he's working in 3 different resource groups, which is possible. And what you have to do is share his capacity, his availability, sorry, excuse me, share it. So the 100% you should split over these groups. So 5% for construction, 10 for electric, and 85 for engineering. And immediately you can calculate what will happen with his workload. Is it enough? On the other hand, we have some people with different numbers. Let's go to Björn. And Björn only has a productivity of 7.2 hours a day. So you can also add his holiday here, then his availability will, of course, be 0. Now, Björn is only working in assembly for 100%. That's all. Now, with this information, we know enough to do resource management. And this is interesting because this influences, of course, the level of your load. Because don't forget, a resource group is maybe not overloaded, but it can be that one of the people, so just click on this arrow, and now we see all the people that are working in this department. One of the people can be overloaded. So you also have to look what is happening on personal level. Now let's go to this funny guy called Andion. See Andion over here has a little bit of overload in the beginning. Let's click on this, and now we see his different roles within the company. And here you can see where his load situation is coming from. And this is very important information. Is Andion a bottleneck, and with which skill is a bottleneck? Let's go to the task list, because the task list is mainly giving you all the information about your priorities. Now, if I just click on Andion, I see these are his tasks which he can perform. He can also do the one which is anyone, meaning that everybody can do it within his group. And we see that he has to work for different projects and with the different priorities. It's very simple. The task with the highest priorities is on top. So he has to do this first, and then the second one and the third one. So for an employee, it's extremely simple. But even more important, the project manager of BRD, if he goes to Andion and says, An, you have to work for me, An can say, no, 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 no. First, I have to do this task. And not yours, because this one has a higher priority. So this makes your priority system ruling in a way that the project managers cannot compete anymore in between. Now, what do I show you? The project, the parent, I will not go in this, the task, ready to start, yes or no. Maybe you cannot start because the predecessors are not finished. The group he's working in, the resources, and to which milestone this is leading. And at the end here, you see the man hours, which are still open. And if you want to change this, just click on it and change it to 8 hours. And this will influence, of course. Now, immediately everything is recalculated. And this is important. It influences your load graphs and it also influences your priorities. Now, let's go to the last one, the graphs. Here you see the future load graph, as we already have shown. And let's go to the historical load graph. Here you see the historical load graph. It has a capacity assumed of 30 over all these groups in total. It has a load which is developing in this way. And we see that the output is luckily increasing a little bit. So this is the demo at this moment.
Yeah, well, we're at 30 minutes, not to interrupt.
Yeah. And then I have good news for you, Ralph, because I go back to the presentation. 1 second. And look what's happened. Looks like a planned webinar. I'm already there, Ralph, and ready for questions. Can you take over, please, Ralph?
Yes, I'm sorry, Willem, I was on mute here. Thank you for that. I just wanted to ask a couple questions. We're not taking questions from everybody today, but please feel free to contact me and welcome the opportunity to follow up with you and go into depth a little bit more. But Willem, I just thought a couple questions that we get most of the time is how is Epicflow related to critical chain project management systems?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question because originally I'm coming from the Critical Chain Project Management Society. I worked with Ellie Goldrad's theory of constraint for a whole year. And the funny thing is that we also found that there are some flaws in critical chain project management. Now, let me give an example. The way critical chain project management calculates the priorities is almost similar to ours. Okay, ours is a little bit more sophisticated, but let's say the way of thinking is almost similar. But the resource management part was really lacking in critical chain. Now, let me explain. Critical chain project management in a multi-project situation assumes you have a stable constraint, as if you have a stable bottleneck. Now, Ralph, I can tell you, I'm doing this now for 15 years. I have never seen a company with a stable constraint. And when you don't have a stable constraint, let's say a stable bottleneck, then critical chain project management does not work because the assumption was we have a stable constraint. So yes, it is related, but it has some flaws, and we have created added value to overcome this situation. Is this answering your question, Ralph?
Yes, thank you very much. I think that was very clear. One more question, and then we'll let people go. We're coming up just on 40 minutes to the webinar. We want to just have 30 minutes and then 10 minutes of this question and answer for you. Last question, what is the main reason people buy Epicflow, Jan Willem?
Yeah, the main reason is that a lot of companies are now in a multi-project environment because their key resources have that much knowledge about technology that they are needed in all the projects. Let's say differently, all the project managers want to have the key players in their company. Now, this means that the key resources have to work sometimes in all projects. Managing this is extremely complicated, and that's exactly the thing that Epicflow is solving. How do you manage that your key resources have to work in more than one project? And for that, you need the historical load, you need the future load, and you need the right priorities. What about priorities? You need to know when to jump over from one project to another project. To be honest, Ralph, you cannot predict the time that this can happen. So start and end date does not help you. This is the common way of project management. No, you only need to know the sequence.
Thank you, Willem. We all know that Murphy lives in the corner office of all companies, right? Really, thank you, everyone, for. I just want to thank Jan Willem. Thank you for your presentation today. Everybody in attendance, thank you for joining. Please look for more webinar information in the future. And here's I'll keep my information up for a few more minutes. Please feel free to contact me, and we'd welcome the opportunity to answer any questions and provide any more information. Thanks, everybody. This is the end of the webinar.
Thank you, too.